care, wonderful care. Every person at this facility took care of my little girl like she was their own, loved her up like she was their own. Mm-hmm. And what gets lost in this tragedy is they cured Emily. Nobody meant for this to happen.
Right.
And so the other miracle that occurred was the fact that I skipped over the natural second stage of grieving, which is anger and rage. Mm-hmm. Completely skipped over it. And it was at that time that I immediately started focusing on the fact that what really drove me and made me so passionate about getting the foundation started so quickly was the fact that I couldn't bear to pick up the paper a week later, a month later, a year later, and find that another beautiful baby or child passed away at the same facility or even a different facility from the same exact type of error.
Yeah.
Because what happened with my daughter was a result of human error. And we're all fallible. We're all capable of making mistakes. This was a number of mistakes that lined up on that horrible day that caused my daughter's death. Yeah. I knew immediately I wanted to establish the Emily Jerry Foundation and find solutions to preventable medical error. The Emily Jerry Foundation is not just about increasing awareness of preventable medical errors. It truly is about being actively engaged in the solution. So all of my work now today is all about getting out there and with the medical community. I do a lot of public speaking at all the different medical facilities around the nation, giving CME and CE accredited lectures to physicians, nursing, pharmacy, whole hospital systems, so on and so forth, about utilizing or adopting the smart adoption and implementation of technology coupled with new and improved and evolving best practices that are proven to reduce the probability of human error entering into the equation.
Okay.
So it did take me a few years to establish the Emily Jerry Foundation. We all, just like all of our advocacy journeys are different, and Joni and I describe this in the book, and utilize the examples of the 95 other advocates that we mention in the book. Everyone's advocacy journey, everyone's adversity that they faced in life is different, uniquely different. But the common ties that bind us all together are so similar, and this healing and the amount of blessings that come about by taking your horrible life experience that you've survived and made it through and applying it in ways that help so many other people, it comes back to you.
For sure. Now, Joni, let's talk a little bit about your Chapter 4 and advocacy state of mind, embracing growth in healing and not slash and burn mentality. Share your thoughts on that.
Well, actually, January, there's much more to Chris's story, and, there's so much more. It's all in the book. But he went about it. He mentioned that he missed the anger part of it. And again, a slash and burn mentality is when you go about things towards revenge in a vengeful way. And, you have to, at some point in time, obviously anger is part of grief. And you're always going to have some anger. Unfortunately, Chris's wife actually prosecuted, it's all in the book, actually prosecuted the pharmacist that was on duty, even though he wasn't the one that mixed the bad chemotherapy. And he did go to jail. He went to jail for 6 months. Now, you take on top of a tragedy that's already happened, and you ruin a man's career that did nothing more than, yes, he did make a human error, but this is a man that all his whole life, all he ever wanted to do was be a pharmacist, and he didn't make the policy that pharmacy techs, sometimes with only a GED education and minimum wage, could make IV chemotherapies, sometimes fact is stranger than fiction, truthfully. Yeah. He did not make that policy. However, unfortunately, he got caught up in the whirlwind. So what we talk about in Chapter 4 is moving past that to, as it says, an advocacy state of mind for growth. How can you, Chris wanted to make sure, this is a key point that I'm surprised he didn't say, and he usually does. He wanted his little girl's death to count for something.
Yes.
And that is what you have to do. You have to move past the anger and the revenge. Now, sometimes it's necessary. I mean, let's face it. There are times when it's absolutely a must, because there are times when you are wrongfully used in this life. But there are many cases when you're just making more victims when you go about it with a slash and burn mentality.
And to speak more to what Joni has said here, January, I just want to say, I've always been, I would say, a very religious man. And a lot of my friends will ask me, well, Chris, how did you maintain didn't this whole course of events weaken your faith? And no, it didn't. It actually strengthened it. But when I was on that parking garage, it was almost as if I had my arms outstretched, and I'm looking up at God saying, really? Mm-hmm. Really? Yeah. The day I'm supposed to take my little girl home cured of this horrible cancer? You take her away from me. I didn't know what the plan was, but now I can honestly say to you 10 years later, as Emily's father, I believe in my heart and soul, and some people will disagree with me. Some of my close family members disagree with me on this. But I truly believe that little Emily's short life here on earth was truly meant to save hundreds of thousands of lives, possibly millions of lives. And I believe that's why, quite possibly, God gave me my outspoken personality and ability to do this. And I'm actually honored, because I believe, much like I know Joni does, and I'm sure you do as well, January, I believe every child born into this world is such a miracle.
And so often I've commented on the fact that people say, well, the good die young. And I think that's a true statement, because I think they are so good. They are here not to learn, but to teach. And by her 2 years, she taught a big lesson to everyone, and that you're continuing to share with everyone. It's an amazing story. Brings tears to my eyes. I'm so thankful to have you both on the show, but I'm also thankful for sponsors. So we're going to hear from them. and when we come back, we're going to talk about transitioning from a human being into a humane being by becoming an advocate. We'll be right back.
Are you living the life you always wanted? Is your relationship fulfilling or a constant roller coaster ride? Do you know how to chart your own path? If you are sick of struggling, overwhelmed, stressed, but desire balance, emotional freedom, and a purposeful life, then it's time to try something that really works. Dr. Casey's unique, result-oriented emotional mastery technique will teach you how to be your own therapist while empowering you to be your best. Learn more at drSimonCasey.com. That's drSimonCasey.com. From cowgirl to caregiver to consultant, meet Becky Fiola, author of The Elder Care Consultant, your guide to making the best choices possible. Growing up on remote ranches across the western states, she tended to orphan creatures large and small. Later on, that nurturing instinct served her well as the primary caregiver for her late husband. And now she offers hope and guidance as a consultant to the elderly and their families. When you need advice on caring for an aging loved one, you can find those answers and her book at Amazon.com and her website, www.assistedlivingadvantage.com. Do you want to learn how to live into your dreams? One Door Closes, Overcoming Adversity by Following Your Dreams. The new book by Tom Ingracia and Jared Kredimski captures the thought-provoking stories of 16 people from all walks of life who have triumphed over adversity to achieve their goals. Plus, you'll get 10 self-assessment tools to design your own blueprint for success. Unlock your true potential. Fulfill your dreams. Be inspired. One Door Closes is available from Amazon.com.
January Jones wants you to grow your business fast, getting free PR, doing interviews with podcasters and internet radio shows. Grab your free copy of our audio how-to course called How to Build Your Business, get more email subscribers, and make more money free doing podcast and internet talk radio interviews. Grab your copy right now at realfasttalkradio.com. Again, that website is realfasttalkradio.com.
Welcome back to Real Fast. January Jones sharing success stories. Joni, how do you define success through advocacy?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it's one that, really none of us can truly know. It's hard because when you say that, it sounds like it's a runaround, but it's truly not. Because advocacy maybe isn't about driving the biggest car. It's not how we define success usually in life. Success in advocacy is truly finding and reaching the people that you were meant to reach. Now, maybe that's one person, maybe that's 10 people, maybe that's 10,000 people. But you have to have faith. Chris was talking about, faith. You have to have faith that you reach those people that you want to reach. And there's a couple of other key points that, if you'll allow me, I'd like to make here. You were talking about transitioning from a human person to a humane being, or a human being into a humane being. Chris was sucker punched. His family was sucker punched. That's the way we describe it in the book. It truly was, and it took him a while to get back on an even footing, and there's much more to this story and much more in the book, and we've already kind of planned a sequel to the book about what he went through his grieving called Dangerous Grief. So that's coming at some point in the future. But none of us would have chosen this path. Chris would have never chosen this path, even though he had nothing to do with his little girl's death. Obviously, he lost a lot in the transition. Most advocates would never choose the path that they're on, but it happens. There's this thing that happens, and it's the path that you're on. And I'd like to very, very quickly, I know we're running out of time, read a quote from the beginning of the book, if you would let me, and it really says it all. Our legacy does not end with the closing of the day or even with our final breath. It continues through infinite possibilities for hopeful tomorrows, one cause, one person at a time. And I still cannot believe I wrote that.
Yes, I was just going to say, Joni, it's so profound. It is so powerful, and it's so true. It really is.
Well, I can see from your story, Chris, that your advocacy, your child's loss was such one of these random things, and these things basically happen to everyone. So everyone goes through something, and you were able to put the sense back into senseless by becoming an activist and an advocate.
Well, actually, if I could say, and I'm sorry to interject, January, but if I could just say this is what happened with my daughter Emily. What I've discovered by being immersed in preventable medical errors and trying to be a part of the solution, and taking into account the fact that preventable medical errors, most people in America aren't aware, preventable medical errors are the third leading cause of death, claiming close to